Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come to BC and to eat in the Scotia pie company the other night. And the reason I mention that is because that's exactly the kind, for those of you who've been there, that's exactly the kind of business that FarmWorks is supporting in Nova Scotia. Thanks to Gordon and Cyback for inviting me here, and I've brought with me Ann Anderson, who's another board member with FarmWorks. I hope I'll inspire you to come to Nova Scotia to visit some of the wonderful businesses that FarmWorks is supporting. And thank you to all of you for your presentations that have helped to set the stage for this. And Dan, ditto. That was great, we really appreciated that. So, for us, it all began with food. We started looking at what was happening in Nova Scotia. A group of people got together in my living room, and this is what we came up with. We're helping to provide food for our future and healthy economic growth in rural Nova Scotia. We are informing the public about the benefits of local food production. We're raising funds from shareholders to support producers, and most importantly, in addition to funding, we're mentoring and promoting producers. We started with 9 people. We started with a few people meeting, as I said, in my living room. We started we were incorporated with 9 directors, and the way community economic development investment funds are set up, as you saw, 6 directors. We needed more than that, the 9, because we take all of Nova Scotia as our community. You can't draw borders around food. And so we've recently expanded in 2013, we increased the number of directors to 14 to better reflect all of the province. As you'll see in our vision, we are about healthy farms and healthy food, but we look at what we're doing holistically. We're looking at food production as a way to build community, and we're looking at that not just from the point of view of the food itself, but also health and environment and all of the issues that make our communities into the places where we want to live. We also have the good fortune to have, I think now, 26 advisors from across the province. Again, not just farmers and food producers, but people from every walk of life. To date, we have been so busy, those of us who are doing the bulk of the work, we haven't engaged with our advisors as much as we will in future. That's one of our key strengths going forward. The challenges are pretty common. Over 50 years, production of food decreased from approximately 60% sufficiency to about 15%. Farms decreased from 12,518 to 3,905, which in fact is up just a little bit from the previous census. We were, in fact, the only province in Nova Scotia, province in Canada to have a slight increase in numbers. But when we look at rural communities, the key thing here is that the farm population decreased from 58,000 to 8. That took those people out of communities and cost us our food security, cost our economy, and of course, employment. And those are 3 census periods that you see there. The population of the province has increased somewhat, but the population in those rural areas. But we're starting to see that change, not just because of FarmWorks in small measure, but there's a whole new sense that's pervading the province. The loss of farms and food production, and so FarmWorks is one of the socioeconomic strategies needed to help change these trends. The opportunities, there's still over 20,000 people employed in food, 6,000 in agriculture, 47 in primary fishery, 9,000 in food processing. We have lots of land. We have some wonderful land in the Annapolis Valley and on the North Shore. But the other thing is, it's not just that land. With greenhouse technology, with all of the fishery, and so, by the way, FarmWorks concentrates primarily on the food production side on agricultural crops. We are now being drawn into the fishery side of it because there's certainly a great need there for the benefits that the CEDAW program can bring. This was in the paper the other day, Vermont, America's Food Localization Laboratory, and since, you can probably read it, but since enacting the Farm to Plate in 2009, Vermont, which is 2/3 the size of Nova Scotia, has added 665 new food businesses, and local food accounts for $8.9 billion, up 24%, and 5,500 food system job increase. So that's the track we see ourselves on in Nova Scotia as well. And this is one of our clients. It seems pretty much every independent restaurant that's opened in the last 5 to 10 years has a focus on local, said Kaylee Sutherland. There's a feeling of camaraderie among this new generation that's quite exciting. We all want one another to succeed. And people, of course, are becoming more interested in their food. They want to know where it's from, how it's caught, all of this background. I think that came out of a lot of factors like environmental issues and health. But I feel it has a lot to do with supporting our local economy. So our vision is healthy farms, healthy food, and we aim to promote and provide strategic, responsible community investment in food production and distribution in order to help increase access to a sustainable local food supply for all Nova Scotians. Out of the gate, we had become aware of the CEDAW program, and we just realized that that was the mechanism by which we could achieve our goals. So we did that. We developed and marketed and have done that 4 times now, 4 offers in 3 years. And then we invest strategically in agricultural enterprises to increase participants' sustainable local food production. And then, as I said, the mentoring and facilitating innovation, advising, making connections. So here's the backgrounder that Gordon has already touched on, the CEDAW program, 1993, but the first one was in 98, 99. Through the sale of shares, a pool of capital is formed to operate or invest in profit-oriented local businesses. Cannot be charitable, non-taxable, or not-for-profit. And we are under the, we are overseen by the Department of Finance and the Securities Commission. That offering document is anywhere from 40 to 60 pages long. You go back and forth with the Securities Commission until you get it right. There have been some changes in the last little while in the amounts that we can invest, that individuals can invest. Currently, an individual can invest $15,000, which is a little bit strange to us because people can go to the casino and invest and play with more money than that. I'm not sure about, it used to be 50 across the board. It was reduced to that. If you are an accredited investor, you can put in $30,000 If you're a director, you can put in up to 50. So 35% income tax credit, and I think you've gotten the feeling from listening to other people this morning and as we go forward that the 35% is wonderful, but it is also part of it's the carrot, because there are a lot of people who are truly invested in their communities, who are willing to invest money for purposes of the benefits of growing the communities that they live in. So the 35 and 20 and 10 over that time period is the sales pitch, but the actual benefits also are part of what we are trying to persuade people to invest in. The RSP tax deferral, of course, is a major benefit to people as well, because you can take the money that's in your RSP, move it into the for us, it's the Canadian Workers Cooperative Federation. And so you move your money out of the financial institution where it's currently being held. And that money that would have been sitting there until you draw it out at whatever age, now it gives you that 35% tax credit, and the 20 and the 10. If you are, and one of the things that we're doing is the young people or people who don't have savings at this point, we are persuading them now to put money into an RSP through FarmWorks, because that gives them their federal RSP credit and also the provincial tax credit. Lil McPherson has been a food activist for a long time in Halifax, and I like what she said when somebody asked her about FarmWorks. When you invest, your money doesn't have to go to Bay Street. I don't know why we find it so hard to invest in ourselves. If we invest our own money into our province, we'd become stronger and we'd be richer for it. So that is that's where we're starting from. And in Nova Scotia, the situation is that not only is the 600 to 700 million each year going out of the province into our RSPs, but less of our overall investment, less than 2% of our overall investment stays in Nova Scotia. So in a small province the size of Nova Scotia, we have somewhere in the order of 100 to 150 billion dollars that's working for other people's economies outside the province. If it's coming to BC, that's fine. We are bi-coastal. So the CEDA matches local investors with local businesses and gives them that access and allows businesses to start or stay in communities. By 2014, 64 million was invested by 8,300 in 60+ projects. Now that has increased substantially, but you may be aware of the fact that there have been some pretty significant changes happen in Nova Scotia just in the last little while. Our Department of Rural and Economic Development has been downsized and folded into the Department of Business. So prior to coming here, when I went to the Department of Business to find out what the updated statistics were, which I know are considerably higher than that because we're aware of several other cities that have opened up, I couldn't find any of the statistics anymore. So when we get back, we've got to do a little bit of pushing to make sure that that information, for our benefit, but also for the benefit of people across the Canada and beyond, is available. There's just a little backgrounder that talks about the overall access, who it's available to. And there's one point that I wanted to make. You are given a choice by the Securities Commission of doing your loans or either making loans, which are subordinate debt, or putting equity into a company. We chose from the very beginning to do loans because guess what? There's interest. And so our aim is, and I think it's in another slide, to use 2% of the interest for administration, 2% for the inevitable losses. I don't like that word, we haven't had any yet, and 2% for dividends. So far we have, 60 which have supported 75 companies, but that doesn't count in our case the 39 businesses that within 3 years. By the way, we will not have reached our 3rd birthday since making our first loan until the end of this June. So we are a blind pool, and that means that when you invest in FarmWorks, you don't know where exactly your money is going to go. You know that you have whatever amount of trust you've built up in the board, in the portfolio. But what we found is that the opportunities present themselves very quickly. From our perspective, CEDAFs are the best mechanism we have in Nova Scotia and probably elsewhere to efficiently and effectively leverage local capital to help build sustainable agricultural and food economy, help rebuild rural communities, and contribute to all aspects of life, because it is a way of bringing money back and keeping money in your province. And it provides a means for citizens, as I said earlier, who are really invested in supporting the place where we live. And this is one of the best things that we are able to do is to spread our vision across the province. We have a lot of sessions, which I'll talk about in a moment, where we meet with people in their living rooms or in their community halls and encourage them to listen to what our applicants have to say. We call them gentle driving sessions. But more importantly, to find out, to get people thinking about what is their vision for Nova Scotia. And by the way, when we're talking to people who are replying to us, we ask them what their vision is for their business. If their vision for their business is alignment with a vision for Nova Scotia, then they're probably on the right track. So yes, there's just an overview of. So we lend money to qualified, and we are very cautious. We spend approximately 50 hours, 2 or 3 of us, on each applicant. Sometimes it's a lot more than that. But that starts way back before we ever lend the money. And in fact, we spend quite a bit of time talking to people who never even become clients of ours, and people who need some guidance, and they're sort of falling through the cracks between the various government departments. So we spend a lot of time on due diligence. I went to Louisville to the Slow Money session back in November to talk about exactly that, the due diligence. So far, we know we will have failures. So far, no failures. We've had a few people who've changed their business plan. We can accommodate that. We can work with people. We are not a bank. We are working with people through all the stages of their development. One of our biggest challenges, however, at the moment is people who've done well and now need to grow, and the amount of money that we have to lend to them at this point is not enough to get them to the next step. So we do work with other funding agencies, including the CBDCs. So there's no application fee. It is unsecured debt consultation. We do want financial statements. They can pay us back. They don't pay for the first 3 months. The first 3 months there allow them to get underway. So there's a list of the sessions that we've done, and currently 39 loans. Of the 721 that we had, we've just gotten the fourth offer, 312,400. So we're still working on that first 721,000, which is now turned into the equivalent of 936 that's gone out, because the money's coming back in and going out and back in and going out. We have at least 15 applicants right now seeking money out of the next offer. So within the 3 years, we raised $1,033,400. And we intend to double that next year and then double that again. So just all our directors are volunteers. We do charge for overnight accommodations and for gas, but otherwise when you start a business, somebody has to put their hand in their pockets. That's what we're doing, and we need to increase the number of, not FarmWorks specifically, but we need to encourage more people to become more closely involved with the kind of community organizations. We are the choir here, but it's reaching out, it's becoming ambassadors, it's spreading the word that we have these wonderful businesses, which I have the good fortune to be able to talk about tomorrow, and that's a lot more fun than talking about the nuts and bolts. But we have the opportunity to engage people in helping us to spread the word about what can happen in our provinces. Here, I think Gordon had been told that no review had been done of the CDIF program, but in fact, I won't go through that, but Doug Pawson had done a review a couple of years ago, which has been widely presented, showing that it is a successful program, and certainly New Dawn has done some great work in that regard. There are challenges, but the biggest one is, back to what I was just saying about ambassadors, raising awareness of the benefits of local investing, raising awareness of the benefits. For example, in my case, you notice my age, so I was getting close to the point where I was going to have to get my money out of my RSP, so I took it out early, and the return, that 35%, offset the tax loss when I was taking the money out of the RSP. We need to gain credibility with more of the high net worth investors across our communities, and we need to find ways to work more closely with registered dealers. So the reason I'm here, of course, is to broaden the net so that the CDIF program may be available in larger regions or outside the province. New Brunswick has, in fact, passed the legislation. PEI has passed the legislation. There have been a couple of small ones in PEI so far. The difference there was that their legislation only enabled equity investments. We chose not to do equity investments because if somebody is going through a growth phase in 5 years, when one of our shareholders at the end of the required 5 years needs their money, we might not have that, or we would have to keep a fairly significant amount of money out of operation in order to enable that money to be taken back out. So by lending money, as you saw in the previous slide, that money is always coming back, and it 5 years we'll be able, not only because we have a new offer open, but also because of the fact that the money is always coming in, we will be able to reimburse any shareholders. Our shares are $100 because we want as many Nova Scotians to become ambassadors as possible. And yes, it does require a little bit more administration, but that's a small price to pay because every person who owns even one share becomes more interested in local food and where they're not just local food, but other aspects of local communities. This was in another report, and I hadn't seen it before, but overall, CEDA-supported businesses have a 90% success rate, which is far better than the typical small-medium enterprise survival rate. And there are now 9 or 10 funds that are providing investors with an annual dividend. We are not going to have any difficulty with providing the annual dividend. And it's interesting to hear that other funds without that tax credit are paying their investors 2, 3, 5, 6%. So I mentioned the Gentle Dragons. This is just a picture from one of our sessions. I mentioned the comprehensive evaluation. You'll notice that the thing at the top here, the two categories at the top are character and commitment. And those weigh very, very heavily. People in the food industry require a huge set of skills. And not everybody who has the best of skills in some areas is going to have all of the skills in all of the areas. So that's our job, to make sure that between the directors and the advisors, we get those potential people in the right place with the right support so that they will succeed. So that character and commitment are very important parts of the comprehensive evaluation. We have loans from one end of Nova Scotia to the other. There's some new ones to be added there. You notice that our vision is healthy farms, healthy food, but we're funding right along the food chain because it is those restaurants in the city that are committed to buying or providing local food who provide the market for the farmers, and so moving the food right through the food system is that's the way we're going to achieve the healthy farms that we need. And we, at this point, we're about a third, and a third farmers and people in value adding and restaurants. One of the things that we do, we just a short time ago had April Flavors, where we invite our businesses to come and showcase their food. And last year, in 13 and 14, FarmWorks Flavors. And the only complaint we had about the fall FarmWorks Flavors was that people didn't, the people there, our clients, didn't have enough time to do business to business. So we'll work it a little differently next year, because we are coming to have the reputation of as the go-to people. We're only 3 years old, but we're the go-to people. There are people who don't even need money from us, who just want to be associated with that wider organization. And there's just, tomorrow I'll be talking about these various businesses. There's a lovely long story about every one of them. We've been getting some good publicity. I like the one at the bottom in the Herald: eat, drink, invest, repeat if necessary. We've had at 18 months we had an evaluation. At 36 months we'll do that again. Thank you very much.